Romeo and Juliet, Act 3, Scene 5. This scene is at one time the last peaceful scene in the play. Also, probably well the calmest, I guess you could say, sweetest scene in the play, at least early on. It begins with Romeo and Juliet standing on the balcony outside her bedroom. It's morning, barely, it's dawn. This would be the second full day of the play. This would be actually the third day of the play. It's Tuesday. Uh, Juliet is protesting to Romeo that it's not yet daylight. She says it was the nightingale and not the lark that we heard. Romeo in line 6 says it was the lark, the herald of the morn. In other words, he's scared, it's time to go. In line 11, however, he says, I must be gone and live or stay and die. Juliet says, yon light is not daylight, I know it I. Line 16, therefore stay yet, thou needst not be gone. And Romeo, of course, says in line 16, let me be ta'en, let me be put to death. I am content, so thou wilt have it so. Line 24, come death and welcome, Juliet wills it so. How is it, my soul? Let's talk. It is not day. So much like the original balcony scene, there's this, it's time for me to go. No, if you want me to stay, I'll stay. It's the old, it's you hang up first. No, I'll hang up, that sort of thing. Typical romance. But Juliet now realizes it is daylight, and Romeo is actually the one talking. Since this time, she says, it is. Hie hence, be gone away. Line 35, she says, oh, now be gone, more light and light it grows. And Romeo says, more light and light, more dark and dark our woes. Line 40, the nurse comes in. Of course, the nurse knows what's going on here. And the nurse comes in and says, the day is broke, be wary, look about. Your lady mother is coming to your chamber. Juliet says, then window, let day in and let life out. Romeo says, farewell, farewell, one kiss and I'll descend. And then he climbs down and now he's standing beneath the balcony. And in line 51, Juliet says, some of the saddest lines in the play, oh, thinkest thou we shall ever meet again? And Romeo says, I doubt it not, and all these woes shall serve for sweet discourses in our time to come. Juliet says, O God, I have an ill divining soul. Methinks I see thee now, thou art below as one dead in the bottom of a tomb. Foreshadowing, a sense of destiny, a sense of fate. And then after Romeo leaves, right after he leaves in line 60, Juliet invokes fortune. O fortune, fortune, all men call thee fickle. If thou art fickle, what dost thou with him that is renowned for faith? Now here is a girl, not yet 14, who has sworn she will do what her parents want her to do, but behind their back has married their sworn enemy and has now spent the night with her new husband in her own bedroom. She's got to be having a lot of conflicting feelings. And now her mother's going to come in and tell her some really good news, at least from the mother's perspective. Juliet, of course, is distraught. She's hysterical. She's crying. The mother thinks, of course, she's crying because of Tybalt. Here we have, once again, this idea of dramatic irony. We know a lot more than some of the characters on the stage know. You can imagine what the nurse is thinking as she's watching all of this. And you look in line 68, Juliet says, Madam, I am not well. And Lady Capulet says, evermore weeping for your cousin's death? Line 75, Juliet says, yet let me weep for such a feeling loss. And Lady Capulet, so shall you feel the loss, but not the friend which you weep for. Now remember, Lady Capulet thinks she was weeping for Tybalt. Juliet is weeping for the loss of Romeo. What ensues is some of the most clever language in the play. Juliet says, feeling so the loss, we're on line 78, I cannot choose but ever weep the friend. She feels the loss of Tybalt, she weeps the friend Romeo. Lady Capulet says, well, girl, thou weepest not so much for his death, as that the villain lives which slaughtered him. What villain, madam? That same villain, Romeo. And Juliet, in an aside, under her breath, says, villain, and he be many miles asunder. That's a double entendre. On one hand, she's saying the word villain and the name Romeo be many miles asunder, many miles apart. What she also means to say is, I hope he's many miles away from here. God pardon him I do, with all my heart, and yet no man like he doth grieve my heart. Now her mother hears that, thinking that he grieves her heart because he killed Tybalt. We know, as the audience, that the reason Romeo grieves her heart is that she wishes he were still here. And then Lady Capulet says, that is because the traitor murderer lives. And Juliet says some of the most true lines yet. Ay, madam, from the reach of these my hands. Would none but I might venge my cousin's death. She wishes she could wreak her cousin's death upon Romeo. We will have vengeance for it, fear thou not. Then weep no more. I'll send one to Mantua, where that same banished runagate doth live, shall give him such an unaccustomed dram, that he shall soon keep Tybalt company, and then I hope thou wilt be satisfied. Lady Capulet literally plans to send someone to poison Romeo in Mantua. And now we hear some more of Juliet's truth hidden underneath language that is intended to deceive her mother. Indeed, I never shall be satisfied with Romeo till I behold him dead. Dead is my poor heart so for a kinsman vexed. What she actually says is, never shall I be satisfied with Romeo till I behold him. Dead is my poor heart so for a kinsman vexed. Madam, if you could find out but a man to bear a poison, I would temper it, that Romeo should upon receipt thereof soon sleep in quiet. Oh, how my heart abhors to hear him named, and cannot come to him to wreak the love I bore my cousin upon his body that hath slaughtered him. That's quite some specific language there, if you know what she's talking about. But then Lady Capulet decides to change the subject, and we get to line 113, and she says, Marry, my child, early next Thursday morn, the gallant young and noble gentleman, the county Paris, at St. Peter's Church, shall happily make thee there a joyful bride. Now, she expects this to change Juliet's entire countenance. Yeah, I can see where that would be true, even if she were weeping for the death of a cousin, for her mother to come up to her room and just announce, oh, by the way, you're getting married on Thursday to Count Paris. Remember we talked about him? I don't know why in the world these people think that this would be something that would cheer up the 13-year-old who's weeping for her cousin, but certainly is not going to cheer up Juliet, who's weeping for her husband. And Juliet says, now by St. Peter's Church, and Peter too, he shall not make me there a joyful bride. I wonder at this haste that I must wed ere he that should be husband comes to woo. I pray you tell my lord and father, madam, I will not marry yet. Notice what she says, I will not. And when I do, and here's my favorite line, I swear it shall be Romeo whom you know I hate rather than Paris. These are news indeed. I would rather marry Romeo, and you know I hate that guy. She literally just told her mother the truth. Lady Capulet says, here comes your father, tell him so yourself. We're about to see the dynamic between Lady Capulet and Lord Capulet. She's afraid of him. She doesn't want to tell him what Juliet's just said, and see how he will take it at your hands. So here comes Lord Capulet and the nurse. And listen to Lord Capulet's language at line about 138 after he sees Juliet weeping and assumes once, like everyone else, that she's weeping over Tybalt. How now, my wife, have you delivered to her our decree? Decree, that's language of a king. Aye, sir, but she will none, she gives you thanks. I would the fool were married to her grave. I wonder if about 3 days the mother's going to remember having said that. Because in about 3 days, there will be Juliet who will have been married to her grave. Okay, well, let's see how Lord Capulet takes this. Lord Capulet says in line 142, soft, take me with you, wife. How, will she none? Does she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? Does she not count her blessed, unworthy as she is? Didn't he just call her earlier the hopeful lady of his earth? The earth has swallowed all my unworthy as she is, that we have wrought so worthy a gentleman to be her bridegroom. And Juliet, trying to kind of walk on eggshells here, says, not proud you have, but thankful that you have. Proud can I never be of what I hate, but thankful even for hate that has meant love. We know what that means, but Lord Capulet is just furious. How, chop logic, what is this? Proud, and I thank you not? He does the typical parent thing where he mocks his daughter. And yet not proud? Mistress Minion, you thank me no thankings, nor proud me no prouds. But fettle your fine joints gets Thursday next to go with Paris to St. Peter's Church, or I will drag thee on a hurdle thither. This language gets really violent. Lady Capulet, realizing that he's literally threatening his daughter with physical violence, steps in now. She says in line 158, Fie, what are you, mad? Juliet says, good father, I beseech you on my knees, hear me with patience, but to speak a word. And Capulet says some of his most hateful language yet, although it gets worse. Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch. I tell you what, get thee to church on Thursday, or never after look me in the face. Either marry Count Paris on Thursday, or I'm disowning you, kicking you out. Speak not, reply not, do not answer me, my fingers itch. He's literally threatening to hit her. Wife, we scarce thought us blessed that God had lent us but this only child, but now I see this one is one too much, and that we have a curse in having her. Out on her, Hilding. And now the nurse steps in. God in heaven bless her, you are to blame, my lord, to rate her so. That was not a very smart move on the nurse. And why, my lady Wisdom? That's very sarcastic. Hold your tongue. And the nurse says, I speak no treason. Capulet says, oh God, ye got in. And the nurse says, may not one speak? At which point Capulet says, peace, you mumbling fool. Utter your gravity over a gossip's bowl, for here we need it not. Lady Capulet says, you are too hot. And the Lord Capulet has his strongest speech yet. God's bread, it makes me mad. Day, night, hour, tide, time, work, play, alone, in company, still my care hath been to have her matched. All I've cared about every waking moment is to find Juliet the right husband. Well, I doubt it. And having now provided a gentleman of noble parentage, of fair demeans, youthful and nobly trained, stuffed, as they say, with honorable parts, proportioned as one's thought would wish a man, and then to have a wretched, puling fool, a whining mammet, in her fortune's tender, to answer, I'll not wed, I cannot love, I am too young, I pray you pardon me. But an you will not wed, I'll pardon you. Graze where you will, you shall not house with me. Look to it, think on it, I do not use to jest. Thursday is near, lay hand on heart, advise. And you be mine, I'll give you to my friend. And you be not, hang, beg, starve, die in the streets, for by my soul I'll ne'er acknowledge thee, nor what is mine shall never do thee good. Trust to it, bethink you, I'll not be forsworn. And he storms out. I've had people in the past tell me, well, or ask me, why doesn't Juliet just run away with Romeo? What in the world would Romeo and Juliet do outside of the town of Verona? They are somebody in Verona. They are nobody in the world. What about all their money? They don't have money. They have property. They have prestige, status. Romeo has never been trained to do anything, maybe to fight with a sword. He can't do anything. You think he's fit to be a stable boy even? Juliet. What happens to runaway girls now in a society that's much more advanced than theirs was? We know what would happen to Juliet. No, they have no choice. This is a death sentence. She's got to find a way around this. And now she turns to her mother. Is there no pity sitting in the clouds, she talks about fortune, that sees into the bosom of my grief? O sweet my mother, cast me not away. Delay this marriage for a month, a week, or if you do not, make the bridal bed in that dim monument where Tybalt lies. You may as well bury me in the Capulet monument with Tybalt. I'm not marrying Count Paris. And Lady Capulet, instead of consoling her daughter, says, talk not to me, for I'll not speak a word. Do as thou wilt, for I have done with thee. And she leaves. O God! O nurse, how shall this be prevented? My husband is on earth, my faith in heaven. Comfort me, counsel me. Alack, alack, that heaven should practice stratagems upon so soft a subject as myself. What sayest thou? Hast thou not a word of joy? Some comfort, nurse? She blames it on heaven again. She gets it. So the nurse, surely she's got a plan. And here's the nurse's plan. Line 214, Faith, here it is. Romeo's banished and all the world to nothing, that he dares ne'er come back to challenge you. Romeo's gone, and in fact he can't come back and say, we're married. He can't come back at all. So, or if he do, it needs be by stealth. Then since the case so stands as now it doth, I think it best you married with the county. Oh, he's a lovely gentleman. The nurse's advice to Juliet, a 13-year-old Catholic girl who's never even been in love, whose first love was the man she married yesterday, and who the nurse helped plan her spending the night with him, her husband, has now just said, throw it all away. Throw away your religion, throw away your faith, throw away your love for Romeo, throw away your loyalty to Romeo, and marry Count Paris. Romeo can't do anything about it anyway. That's her advice? It appears so.